Hey, good afternoon everyone and welcome back to another episode of Kirk Talk. Now, in the last two episodes, I talked about a series that I'm quite fond of, which is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And I talked about my favorite JoJo, and I talked about some of my favorite villains. Now, to wrap everything up all nicely, have a nice trilogy thing going on here, I decided to do one more video on my favorite side characters. Now, as I said in the last video, there are three character types to any story: the hero, the fool, and then the villain. So I already talked about the heroes and the villains. Let's talk about the fool. Now, the fool does not necessarily mean an idiot, especially when it comes to JoJo's. I'm talking about any character that is not a villain, or any character that starts off as a villain and becomes a hero later on to aid the main character off in their quest, no matter what that quest may be. Now, I'll do what I did before, and I'll kind of go part by part, just because there's a lot that I'm really quite fond of, and it's very difficult to pick an all-time favorite when there's just so many choices. So I'll break down each part and talk about which ones I like per each part. So of course, first off, we're going to start with part one, Phantom Blood. Now, Phantom Blood being as incredibly short as it is, there's not really that many characters that I guess qualify. So I guess I would say that my favorites would be Zeppeli and Speedwagon. The main reason why I like Speedwagon, he's like your bro. He's like your best friend that sits and does nothing while you go off and do everything else, right? So he's kind of like, he doesn't do much in the first part, and I know he's a little bit more prevalent in the second part when he becomes an oil tycoon. But, I mean, I like him in part one. He's entertaining. I feel like he over-exaggerates everything. He's always screaming. He's like, Josta-san, you have just gone to the restroom. And he's like screaming and stuff, and it's all funny. Fun fact, I actually did a cosplay of Speedwagon when a buddy and I, he did Jonathan, and I did Speedwagon, and we went to the Philadelphia Comic Con together. So that was a lot of fun, and I had a lot of fun making that costume. Now, the other character that I like from Phantom Blood would be William A. Zeppeli, or Baron Zeppeli. Either name works. I like him. He's very eccentric, and he's the stereotypical teacher character, and he gets killed halfway through trying to save Jonathan and making him stronger, yada yada yada. But I mean, as far as characters go, I like his design. I like his impeccable style, and I just like him. I like it. I like his design. That's another cosplay I'd like to do someday. But again, I need a big group for this one. Now that wraps up Phantom Blood. Like I said, there's not really that many to go off of. So now I'm going to move on to part two, Battle Tendency. And without a doubt, my favorite side character from Battle Tendency is Caesar Zeppeli. Caesar is awesome. Caesar challenges Joseph in ways to make him stronger, but then becomes his best friend later on. And I'll be honest, like, there's a lot of deaths that you get from watching like TV shows and anime and playing video games. There's always character death. There's always those characters that you get really attached to and then they die and you're like, oh my god, my favorite character died. And I'll be honest, I think Caesar, for me, up to this point, because I've only been up to part 4 in JoJo's, has been the worst character death. Like, that one really hit me the most. You know, he's there and the cross comes down and Joseph's like, Caesar! And then that music's playing in the background. It's all tragic and it's like, dude, come on, man. So that tragic death, I think, really adds to why I like Caesar so much. Plus, I like his ability, you know, the Hamon bubble technique I thought was pretty ingenious, especially for fighting like vampires and zombies and pillarmen and all that. So Caesar is phenomenal. I like his style too. Zeppeli's always have excellent style from parts 1 to 2. And from what I've seen of part 7, Gyro has a lot of style too. But I know the characters aren't necessarily connected. I'd also like to do a really good Caesar cosplay too. So I have all these cosplays that I want to do, but I don't have the time to make the costume. And plus, I want a group to go with. You know, I want to get with a bunch of my friends and have us do all of it together rather than just me walking around by myself. I think it would be better that way. So now we're going to move on to part 3, Stardust Crusaders. Now this one was a little bit tough to pick my favorite characters. As far as side characters go, I think I'm gonna. It's a close tie between Kakyoin and Avdol, and of course, Joseph Joestar is my favorite Joestar. So I really don't count him as like a side character because he's prevalent. He's heavily prevalent in the part of the story. So maybe he's a sub hero. I don't know. But anyway, Kakyoin and Abdul are both fantastic characters. Nothing against Polnareff. I just like, I don't know. I'm not big on Polnareff, I guess. I'm just not. So I like Kakyoin. I like Emerald Splash. I like his Hierophant Green. I think the design's really cool. And I like the versatility of the stand. Now, it's not necessarily a combat stand, but as we see throughout the part of Stardust Crusaders, he is more than capable of fighting for himself and for his friends and taking care of business when he has to. My all-time favorite Kakyoin moment was when he's fighting Death 13, and he attacks the baby in the dream, and everyone's like, "Oh, Kakyoin, and you were right." And he was like, "Yeah, I was right this whole time." And there's that part he gets his eyes slashed out by Geb, and then he comes back with the shades, and he's all like, "Yo, what's up, dude?" That was really cool, and I like Kakyoin. Now, as far as Abdul, I like Magician's Red. If I had a stand, I'd probably go with one that would have an elemental kind of ability, maybe like electricity or fire or something like that. But I like his wiseness. I like how he's like the shaman. He's the one who like tells everyone where to go. He's like, "Oh yes, I know this about that, and I know this is about this. Oh, Mr. Joestar, you got to go here and do that." Which I like about him. Plus, I like that he's a complete badass when it comes down to it. Like, if you need someone to get jacked up, Abdul's going to be that guy to jack somebody up. And it's going to be awesome doing it. The one thing that I don't really like about Abdul is his death. Now, whereas Kakyoin had a very grand death, getting punched through the gut by Dio and the whole, like, Emerald Splash, the final clock, it's like... And Joseph is like, "Oh, Kakyoin! The world can stop time." And it's like, "Oh, yeah, that was really cool." So his death had, like, prevalence to it. There was a reason behind it. Abdul kind of didn't. He just kind of died. So when Polnareff, Iggy, and Abdul go to fight Vanilla Ice, Abdul gets killed like instantly because he has his hand on the wall and he looks and it says, "Once you turn around, you'll die." And he turns around and he pushes Polnareff and Iggy out of the way, saving their lives. But then he gets sucked into the void, and that's the last of we see of him. And I think that's particularly stupid, mainly because like we saw him die. We saw him die before when he got shot in the head by a horse, and then he came back and he was fine. I was like, "Oh, okay, this character's good." But then they killed him, and I was like, "Wow, you guys did it for real this time." That's messed up, man. But anyway, so that's what I think about the Stardust Crusaders. Yeah, they're really cool. I'm not a big fan of Polnareff. He's there. He's got the Silver Chariot. I don't know. I just like Kakyoin and Abdul more. So now I'm going to move on to part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable. And there's a lot of really good characters to like from Diamond is Unbreakable, similar to Stardust Crusaders. For example, there's Koichi, who has excellent character development, and the evolution of his stand all the way through, I think, is awesome. And then, of course, there's Rohan with Heaven's Door, and he's all like, and he turns the people into the book, and then he rips out pages and stuff, which I think is really cool, too. But honestly, my all-time favorite from part 4, I gotta give it to Okuyasu. Okuyasu is so freaking stupid, but his stand is so freaking overpowered. Like, he has a stand that rips through time and space. Well, not time. He has a stand that rips through space and forces objects to like close together when the space in between is gone. So he can use it to teleport. He can do it to like cut people in half. Like, it's really cool, and a lot of really cool things he can do with it. Plus, it's a fighting stand too, on par with Crazy Diamond. But he's just so dumb. But I think that's why I like him so much. Like, I like the fact that he has such an overpowered stand, but he himself is an idiot. Now, Okuyasu would fit into the character type Fool perfectly, because that's what he is. And he is a good dude. He's always there for Josuke, but he's just not all right in the head. And there's been many times throughout the series when it looks like Okuyasu's gonna die. I mean, he dies twice because he gets sucked into the electric wires by Chili Pepper, and then he gets blown up by Kira. But Josuke saves him both times. Like, oh, yeah, happy ending. So there's not quite the tragic death that there was in the previous parts. At least not with Okuyasu. He does survive until the end. But it's just something about him when you see him on screen and he goes, "Yo, Josuke," and I'm just like, yo, you all right, man? You my best friend too. So that's what I think about the side characters of Diamond is Unbreakable. I mean, like I said, they're all really good, but Okuyasu, just for his stand ability and for his personality, just make him an easy pick for me. And that being said, that brings my JoJo's videos to a close, at least for now. I'm thinking about doing a couple more talking about like stands and stands I like and all that stuff. But I really just wanted to talk about the particular characters that I was very fond of, whether they be Joestar's villains or side characters as well. But that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate your time and patience, and I will see you guys in the next one.